So if you're in confusion, you are only looking at half of a thing. Your awareness is not yet big enough. It's being blocked. You are being blocked from seeing the answer because of that blind spot, because of that lie. In this episode of the Unstoppable Woman podcast, we are going to do a deep dive into what confusion means. So confusion is this experience that we as humans enter into every so often, probably more often than we'd like to admit, given that you're a high performer and you're going for it and you're really executing on your goals. There are times that you go into confusion, and it's important to know what to do with that information, what to do when you go into confusion, what it means, and how to navigate it. So first, we have to look at what confusion is. It's where you're saying things like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what I want. I don't know what's stopping me. I don't know how to make this decision. I don't know what to do in this situation. I don't know X, Y, and Z, but not in a, okay, just the facts, that's data. I don't know the marketing tool that I need to solve this problem right now. That's a very neutral way of asking that question. The way I'm asking this that indicates confusion is when it's a panic and a helplessness. So it can be a varying degrees of panic, maybe slight, maybe intense, and then also this idea of helplessness. I don't know how to do this. I'm helpless in this situation. That's what you need to be looking for in the confusion. Okay? There's also confusion that comes when you feel like you don't have choice, that there is not a good option for you, which would fall under the heading, if you will, of not knowing what to do or not knowing what you want. And this is a great moment to make the big point of this episode right at the very beginning, that when there's confusion, there's a lie. You're going to want to write that down. You're going to want to Post-it note that someplace. You're going to want to remember, when there's confusion, there's a lie. That's the concept that's going to set you free. Now, there's some steps that you have to take after that, but you have to remember that initially, you have to see this confusion as indicating that there is a lie. Now, what do we mean by a lie here? So it represents a limited view of the situation. You're only seeing half a truth, half a situation, half an understanding, if you will. But of course, everything is created as a whole. So there is further understanding that you are not seeing. So the lie is that it's not there, that the solution's not there, that the answer is not there, that the opportunity is not there. It is always here. And this is the intellectual understanding that you need, that I will get to in a moment, to really break free from the inaccurate thinking. So the lie indicates that you have some sort of inaccurate thinking. And accurate thinking is key. It's key to your freedom. It's key to solving problems quicker. And let's just play this out, because I'm a business coach and I help women and some men behind the scenes really move through the lies that they've created for themselves based on their belief system and their identity, their self-image, in order to make faster, quicker decisions on the things that they need to do in their business to grow it. If you're in confusion, you are, one, stuck in the lie. Two, you're not able to make that decision for yourself. You stay in indecision, which is a recipe for staying stuck and stopped. Decisions, whether they end up with the results that you conceive of as good results, or results that you conceive of as, oh, that's not what I wanted, bad results. Making that decision is 1,000 times better than not making a decision at all. And it will speed up your ability to execute on the things that you need to do in your business. So this is one of the things that slows people down. They end up in a lot of confusion. What do I do next? What's the best marketing path? What's the best way to reach this kind of client? What's the best way to price or position my offerings? What's the best way to sell? What's the best way to grow my audience? What is the best way to sell at a higher price point, right? All these questions come up. Should I be doing this or should I be doing that? I just had a client text me yesterday confused about what she should be focusing on because an offer came in her world that seemed like the greatest next thing to do would solve this problem over here. And she went into confusion because she didn't know, is this really good to follow or is this a distraction? That's confusion, okay? But when there's confusion, there's always a lie. So you have to unpack what the lie is. Okay, I want to give you a little bit more on this, and then I'm going to give you conceptually a little bit more on this, and then we're going to go through how to really step-by-step approach this for yourself. So the next thing that you need to remember is that heaven is our natural state. What do I mean by that? You may have heard me say that already. It's one of the things that I teach regularly. You have to understand this. Yes, as humans, we have pain, we have suffering, we have emotional ups and downs. That exists. I am not saying that pain and suffering do not exist. They do. However, when we experience them, this is us falling out of our natural state, meaning if we're functioning at the highest level, we can naturally stay very good, very happy, very content with life as we grow, okay? And yet that's not how most of us were brought up. We have a belief system that says, you have to struggle to earn money. Have you ever had that? Like, I earn it, I work hard for that. We have a real work hard mentality in our culture. Now, I do believe in effort. You do need to put effort in. I am someone who goes hard, right? If you will. I love the hustle. I love the slay. I also have good boundaries on my time and get good rest and meditate and do lots of things that rejuvenate me as well. So it's not only a certain kind of go hard, but I put the effort in to execute on my dreams and get the results that I want. Now, does that mean that everything's peachy keen? Not in the beginning, it wasn't. I was thrown out of heaven almost every 15 minutes. There was another little crisis that I didn't mentally know how to handle. And I was so wrapped up in an old belief system that made the thing that I was experiencing, the outside circumstance that I was experiencing, making that something that equaled struggle or pain, a negative feeling, a negative state. Now, I know that indicates that I've just been thrown out of heaven and my perspective on the situation is inaccurate. Pain and suffering, being thrown out of heaven to any degree, large or small, indicates that my perspective is not the perspective of divinity, of spirit, of soul, of the universe, of all the energy that is, of intelligence, of Gaia, whatever you call that energy that is God, right? If you are thrown out of heaven, you are split away from that energy, which is our divine right and is who we truly are. And yet, as humans, we go into this dualistic experience where we say, no, that is not me. And we go into pain and suffering. So what does this have to do with confusion? When you are thrown out of heaven, you're no longer in ease, you're no longer feeling good. That's an indication that you are stuck in a habitual lie, a belief system that is saying that you have to see this circumstance not in the truth of what it is, but in an untruth, a lie about it. And it's so ingrained in us that we cannot get into agreement with ourselves from the point of view we currently have. And that is called a blind spot. That is called a blind spot. It's by definition, a blind spot is something you cannot see for yourself. That's a blind spot. That's where working with mentors comes in. That means that's where really up-leveling your awareness comes in. You have to have an outside influence that jars you and points out, here's the lie. Because right now you are in a belief pattern, a belief program that doesn't allow you to see the lie that you're actually telling yourself about the situation. Okay. So, by the way, we're going to be doing a whole training on blind spots coming up at the end of March. March 30th is when we're doing that. So please, if you aren't already on the newsletter list, please go to our website or look in the show notes for the links and sign up for our newsletter, and you'll be informed of when we do these free trainings. They're 90 minutes. They're badass. They're really great. You want to come live because I do special teaching for people who come live, and we workshop things together. So it's really hands-on and instructive. So theunstoppablewoman.com, go find us and sign up for some free download, and you'll be on our newsletter list. Our free stuff page is a great place to start. Okay. All that to say, let's get back to the concept of where there is confusion, there is a lie. Now, why might this be? We've talked about this quite a bit, but I want to go deeper here. It's because everything is whole. Everything is whole. So if you're in confusion, you are only looking at half of a thing. Your awareness is not yet big enough. It's being blocked. You are being blocked from seeing the answer because of that blind spot, because of that lie. And in order to step out of that, you need to go through about 5 things, 5 different ways of approaching this. Okay. And when you get good at this, it'll happen naturally and easily. But I'm going to break it down into steps so that you can really see it for what it is and you can use this yourself. So first of all, everything is created as a whole. Nothing is created as a half. This is what the Law of Polarity says. Okay, the Law of Polarity says everything is created as a whole. There are no halves in this universe. So if you're only seeing the problem, you're not looking at the solution. But it's here and it's here now because those two things go together. The answer always precedes the question. The solution always precedes the problem. They are linked. They are whole. One without the other does not exist. You're just not seeing the answer. You're just not seeing the solution. You're just not seeing the opportunity. Big problem, big opportunity. I live this every single day. It is not that my business doesn't have problems. Of course we have problems. Of course we have challenges that come up. The latest one that has been that has arisen is that 50% of our team turned over in the first month of this year. That's pretty intense, regardless of how much of a project management system you have, and how much what is it called, like SOPs, standard operating procedures you have, and how things are documented, and how much training you've done. When 50% of your team disappears, no matter how big your company is, that's going to have a pretty big effect. You're not going to be able to do the same amount of work in the same pace. Now, I could have freaked out, which I did not. Instead, I used this concept, the Law of Polarity. This is a big problem. There's a huge opportunity here. Where is it? And I started to look for it. Okay. I'm going to go into that in a little bit more detail as we move forward here with the different ways of looking at this, the different steps you have to take. But just to finish that thought, close the loop on that, I stayed open for that opportunity while taking action. And the answer came in the form of a person who was head and shoulders above the people that had previously been my top level managers. And so I up leveled the fact that 50% of people left to go follow their dreams, which is fantastic. Love that. Meant that there was a problem that I was facing. How do I solve this? And it opened an opportunity for me to up level the caliber of management in my business. And it's already like having huge positive effects. It's allowing me to do my genius work. Now, is it all perfectly played out yet? No, but I knew within a matter of days that this was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. And there's that opportunity. I'm going to jump on it, and boom, we're in a much better place. No noise, okay? No confusion there, because I understand and live the universal laws. And the law of polarity is very important. So that is step one, having an intellectual understanding of the laws. I go into the laws in a lot more detail in various different podcast episodes. So go do a little searching on that. We go into them at the Unstoppable Woman Income Breakthrough Summit. So if you're interested in that, I do a deep dive into all the laws there. So you can get tickets at theunstoppablewoman.com/summit if you're interested in that. That's May 14th, 15th, and 16th. We're doing virtual and we're doing in person. So you have your option there. What else do I want to say? And we do that in the Spirit of Wealth program as well. So those are all ways that you can look at it. And we have the Morning Mindset Club, which is totally free, that you can access on our free stuff page, which is, as you can probably guess, theunstoppablewoman.com/free stuff. So those are different places that you can really learn more about these laws. But so you have to have the intellectual understanding. That's the law of polarity. We talked about that. But it's also the law of relativity. Everything just is. Nothing is big or small, good or bad, until we compare it to something else. We give things meaning through what we're comparing it to. So how are you looking at this problem? What are you comparing it to? Are you comparing it to the big solution? Or are you comparing it to the nightmare vision that you have if everything goes to hell in a handbasket? Okay? What are you comparing this to? You have to remember also that the universe is always for you. I did not get this in the beginning. People would throw that out. The universe is always supporting you. And I understood the words, I could clearly understand what that meant, but I didn't understand in the moment when things weren't happening the way I wanted them to, that this was actually the universe giving me the answer. But I was so stuck in a lie, a story, a belief that wasn't serving me that I could not see it. That's how you use the law of relativity. Okay, this is happening for me. Freaking-tastic. I caught myself swearing there. I do swear, guys, so just know that about listening to my podcast. I'm trying to reel it in. But then that's an intellectual understanding that you then have to apply. If that is true, this is happening for me, how do I see that? How am I going to see that? How is this for me? And not to go into helplessness, but going into curiosity and thinking about how this is actually for you. Even just asking the question will give you new answers and new perspectives. And it's huge. Okay. So the second step is managing your mind. And this is using, really, truly, this is using your greatest power, which is your power to choose. Okay, first, that looks like staying in the truth. And that means understanding the laws and applying them. That is a choice, you guys. There are people who follow me, who listen, who are curious. And then when push comes to shove, they go back to their old pattern behavior instead of going to the laws. Okay? And they hear it, but they're not living it. They're not making choices based on the truth that the laws present. They're making decisions based on their old belief patterns that are causing them a lot of fear, doubt, worry, and they're staying stuck in that. So you have to make choices, and you have to make them based on truth. And the truth that you want to look to are these universal laws. Okay. You also need to choose to eliminate doubt. At one of our summits, I gave out these really cute magnets that said, "I don't do doubt." And we even had like little Post-it notepads as well, because it's so important. I don't do doubt. Doubt is like the gateway drug. Doubt is the thing that hooks you. Doubt is the thing that if you let it, that seed of doubt get planted in your fertile soil, in your subconscious mind, it's going to grow, and it's going to become worry, and then it's going to become fear. And fear, if it's unexpressed, becomes anxiety. And anxiety, if it's unexpressed, becomes depression. And it can cause huge physical, emotional, mental problems. Okay, so let's nip it in the bud, if you will. So I don't do doubt. How are you going to apply that? When you start going into confusion, is there doubt there? Are you saying, I doubt myself? I don't know how to do this? That's doubt. I don't do doubt. Therefore, you ask a better question. If I did know how to do this, what would I do? Okay, it doesn't substitute for working with a mentor, asking someone who has done what you want to do before that question, because you can shortcut things, right? You can move a lot faster that way. And that is not in lieu of personal responsibility and not going into helplessness. Okay, so I don't do doubt. Doubt is that gateway drug, and it starts this whole downward spiral. And it would be a great exercise for you to keep a journal, either written or on your phone, of where doubt is coming in for you. Okay, so like thinking, you all look for really simple places this is showing up. Like when thinking someone's going to be late, like thinking if you're meeting someone or you have a phone meeting with them, and you have in your mind, they're going to let you down in some way. They're going to be late. They're not going to be prepared. They're not going to have the answers that you need. That is doubting. That's doubting someone else. Okay? I don't do doubt. So you might be with your team, doubting that someone's going to get a task done. Okay? Now, here's the thing. You have to elevate. But you don't do that by ignoring the doubt. You go, oh, look, doubt. That's the universe working for me. I'm not going to stay in doubt, but I am going to evaluate the situation now and check in. Let's be personally responsible here. Have I communicated everything I need to for this person to be successful? Have I shown up in the way I want others to show up? Am I doing this with saying one thing and feeling another underneath the surface? Like saying you're supportive, but really feeling underneath the surface that they're going to fail. Okay. You got to clean up all of those places. Some of them are very tactical. People oftentimes don't know how to train their team or communicate well, or think that someone should really understand things that, take some time being with a company to get. So use your personal responsibility, but also have it be like your little spidey senses. Oh, maybe I didn't do what I need to do there. Okay. Another way of dealing with choice and the doubt that comes up and all the stuff that you can kind of spin out on is using the practice that we have in our tool called Stop Your Spin Out. And again, I know I'm mentioning a lot of places that you can go today, but I guess there's just a lot of places that we have for you to get next helpful things. On the unstoppablewoman.com/free stuff page, there's something called Stop Your Spin Out. And it's a great tool. It's a PDF that you can download. And it breaks down how to use your power of choice, not to get hooked into the story of doom and gloom or whatever is hooking you. Okay. You have to recognize how rumination or those conversations in your head are keeping you stuck in the confusion. So you have to learn how to choose using your power of choice, which is your greatest power, and to use it regularly to put yourself on the right path, which does mean paying attention to the pole that you would like to have as the result. You want the solution, so let's pay attention to the solution, not the problem. That doesn't mean you ignore the problem. That doesn't mean you are an ostrich with your head in the sand. But you also have to know that if you're getting hooked into an emotional state that's not serving you because you're, say, analyzing the problem. That used to be my hook, okay? Like I would be good, and then my subconscious mind will hook me into being in the problem, not looking at the problem, but being in the problem through analysis. Initially, analysis is very helpful, but then you can get sucked into being in the problem, okay? And, it's not a helpful perspective after you have flushed out neutrally the situation. Then you have to make decisions and take action based on your analysis. That is healthy. But if you analyze it from a place of how do I defend my position here, or how do I get to be right here, or how do I make sure that no one sees me as wrong here, that is not an accurate way of using analysis. That is being hooked by the situation. So you want to only use it productively. What can I do now? What needs to be done first? That's a good one because order is heaven's first law. So you want to be, if you're in analysis, you want to be asking good questions. What needs to be done first? What's urgent here? Okay? Who can help me? What do I need help with? What's required to get help here? Those are helpful questions, okay? You need to learn how to ask better questions. Okay. Next step is recognizing the position of time in all of this and staying open to the answers. Not like sometimes if we want an answer right away, instantaneously, because we are in pain, we are in the pain of confusion, that actually stresses us out and closes the door, the channel between all the knowing that is, where we get ideas, solutions, and opportunities. We are tapped into this spiritual internet, if you will, where you can tap into all the energy and all the solutions and all the ideas that ever have existed and ever will exist. They're all here and they're all here now. But if we are in a panic because we think we need to solve this yesterday, we're going to close off that tap, limit the flow coming through us, what's accessible to us. Okay. So you do have to allow time. Now, this does not mean that you don't take action now. You do. Okay. However, if you are acting with a sense of urgency, but without a sense of limitation or panic, then the universe will meet you. It actually speeds things up. But you do need to allow the law of gestation to take place. The law of gestation says that ideas are spiritual seeds and we don't know how long it's going to take for them to gestate. But I will tell you that if your fertile soil that you're planting those seeds in is full of, doubt, worry, fear, panic, all of that confusion, that seed is not going to have the fertile ground it needs to take hold and grow. It's not going to have the right environment for it to grow. So you need to, again, going back to the power of choice, step out of the panic. This is where, again, going to the intellectual understanding. Okay, this is what I need to do. This is how it works. I can understand that. I'm going to do this, power of choice. Then I'm going to take action and I'm going to stay open to the answers. Staying open to the answers. And oftentimes people don't stay open to the answers, or they don't take action because they're in such a panic or in such confusion because of the fear of making a mistake. The lie here is that you'll lose everything. You won't survive. And in fact, when you make mistakes, sometimes you lose in the short term something. But in the long term, if you keep acting, keep choosing quickly, and keep experiencing the results in a way where you're bettering your best each time, you will massively grow and become someone for whom this is not a loss, but a gain. Okay. And again, this is where the time horizon comes in. Maybe there's a temporary or an immediate loss, something that you need to sacrifice now in order to grow. Okay. But overall, if you keep moving forward and not going into shame about making a bad decision, if you will, then you actually become someone where that doesn't touch you, which is huge freedom. That is emotional freedom. That's mental freedom. And it leads to financial freedom because in business, you need to make 1,001 decisions. And if you're taking 3 years to make a decision that I make in 15 minutes, I am going to be growing my business so much faster than you. Okay? And though we're not in competition with each other in that way, you can see how if you're in competition with yourself and you take 3 years or even 3 weeks to make a decision that really could be made in a much shorter time horizon, you are delaying your own good. You might actually, if you wait so long, you lose the inspiration, you lose the motivation, and you aren't able to execute at all. And that's where the years go by and people find themselves at the same place, hitting that invisible ceiling. Okay, so circling back, you might lose something. It's true, okay? You might make a decision and lose some money, okay? But that's temporary unless you stop right there. Don't stop, okay? Don't stop. Hence the unstoppable woman, okay? And as a part of this, the bigger thing that I think people have is that if they make a mistake, they think that they are not going to survive because it's very tapped into these core needs that we have of belonging, feeling love, and feeling security. Okay. And if you make a mistake, most people were brought up with the experience that love was cut off, or it felt like love was cut off, or they made it mean that there was a potential that they weren't going to be loved anymore and therefore be thrown out of the family unit and not survive, okay? Die. That's the way your subconscious looks at making mistakes now. And it's a lie. It's not the truth. You are not going to die because you've made a mistake. It's just not true, okay? Very rare circumstances, okay? You make a mistake and you drink too much and then you drive your car into a tree and you die. Yeah, that's not a survivable mistake, okay? But most people in business are taking that to the level of like, should I invest $5,000 into this training? Oh my God, I might die. Okay, not on a conscious level, but on a subconscious level. Or should I make the decision to hire this agency? Oh my God, I might make a mistake. It might not work out. I'm not saying don't read the contract. I'm not saying don't negotiate, the deal that you want. But what I am saying is you have to make those decisions and experience the results. That is not going to kill you. Okay? That is not going to kill you. And that's the lie. So stay out of the panic, okay? Now, I will say that a certain amount of urgency can spark your creativity and your initiative, okay? But too much of this sends people over the edge and incapacitates them. So when I say be open and have a longer time horizon, I am not saying don't create urgency for yourself to solve a problem. Having a time goal that you're going for really does help the spark creativity and different solutions. When you really need to do something, when you really want to do something, then you will find the way. Okay. So a good example of this is, I had a client recently she heard about this Paris metamorphosis event that I'm doing next year. And it's an incredible trip, and it's a large investment, and she really wanted it. She really wanted to make it happen. So she's a private client, and I started giving her some advice on how to make it happen by a certain time period so that she could experience the bonus that was happening for her at that time. And she was really excited about that. And at first she was like, well, how would I come up with this money? Where would it come from? I'm like, well, it's here now. Now you just have to figure out what are the causes to get that effect. And I coached her on what she needed to do in order to call in money. And she's like, okay, I get that. I'll go do that. And she started to do it. And I kept getting these texts. There were about 3 of them in a row. Okay, I just signed a new client. I just signed another one. Here we go, right? This person didn't need this, but they needed this. And she had, I think it was 3 sales in a matter of a day and a half, which was really fun and exciting for her. And then she took her foot off of the pedal. She said, maybe I don't need to do this in the time period that I previously stated. And I coached her on that, but she has free will, and everything's happening for you. So she gets to have this experience. When she did that, she took her foot off the pedal, she released the urgency, and she stopped creating money. Oh, isn't that interesting? Look at that law of cause and effect. Okay? So you have to play this really nuanced game, if you will, approach, if you will. You have to stay open and not create a time issue that causes you to go into panic, but neither can you be without any urgency, because you will go back to your old patterns of how you work and think and act, and you won't achieve what you want. Because the truth is, the money is always here for everything that you want to do in your business and your life. It's always here. And if you're not seeing it or receiving it, there's a lie in your thinking. That's confusion. It's not here. That is a lie. It is here. The intellectual truth, the law of polarity, says the money is here, and it's here now. Not tomorrow, not the next day, but it's here now. And if you don't want it badly enough, you won't see it. Okay? You're lying to yourself about your desire. People say all the time to me, oh, I really want to do X, Y, and Z, but I don't have the money. I don't know how to create it. That's a lie. You don't want it badly enough. If you wanted it badly enough, if it was super urgent for you, you would go figure out how to make it. Okay? But the lie underneath is like, I'm helpless. I'm incapable. I've never done that before. I don't know how to work at that level. I'll be too exhausted if I work at that level. I'll alienate people if I work at that level. There's all sorts of lies that go on here. And you have to want what you want more than the discomfort of doing what it takes. Because the discomfort, even though heaven is our natural state, we have to grow through things that are currently uncomfortable for us in order to become the person for whom that is a norm, that is comfortable, easy peasy, lemon breezy. If you want to work at a higher level in your business in terms of revenue generation, you're going to have to learn to do different things than you're doing already. That is by definition what's required. Okay? And there's going to be some discomfort in that until you learn to be comfortable in the discomfort, until you learn to be like, oh yeah, bring it on. I got it. Let's do this thing. Okay? So look at where all these lies come in for you. This is really important, really important. Okay. The next piece of the puzzle here is step number 4, focus on what you want. So most people, when they get into a conundrum, or they get into a panic, or they get into a situation where they don't know what to do, where they're confused, they go into worrying about things that they don't want to have happen in a situation. It's a lie that you have to panic, or that you have to go into confusion to begin with, okay? That's not going to help you. We're all brought up with, if I go into worry, if I go into freak out, if I go into confusion, somehow that's going to help me solve the problem. And you have to do some investigation. I do a lot of deep work with my clients to figure out, where did they learn that going into confusion was a helpful strategy, okay? Where did they learn that going into worry was a helpful strategy? Where did they learn that panicking was a helpful strategy, or being helpless was a helpful strategy? All of those things that one learns that are not helping with the growth that you desire, achieving your financial goals, you need to look at and transform. It has to be unpacked so that you can never not see it again. And you have to substitute it with the truth of who you are. And that is part of this process. Okay. So you have to focus on what you want, and go back to whatever situation you're in and ask yourself, what do I actually want? Not what's possible, not what is reasonable, but what do I want? Most people will start answering me in well, I just don't want it to look like this, and I don't want that to happen. I don't want her to be like this, and it's all what I don't want. Well, tell me. You can start with what you don't want. That's fine. You need to probably get it out of your system. But then you need to actually transform that into what you do want. So here's an example from a client that just came up last week. And this client is a dude. There are a few guys behind the scenes as private clients, and he has this new program that he's rolling out. It's a fabulous program. He's prepping it. It's all good. He's got a great audience. They are prime for it. He knows it will be a huge value and a huge success once he gets it out there. However, when we were talking in one of our private calls about this, his big concern was, and I could feel the resistance in his conversation with me, was that he didn't want to sell it in a way that would burn out his list. And I knew instantaneously that if he kept going down that path, that line of thinking, that he wasn't going to get this program out in the world in as short a time frame as possible. He was going to delay it, and it would be another year before it got put out into this world. And we didn't want that to happen. So he was in confusion around being able to meet the numbers that he wanted for the program without doing a bunch of emails to his list that would quote unquote burn out his list. So the lie is that you have to burn out your list when you're sending them emails, that it's not helping them, but actually hurting them when you make your offer. So that's a big lie right there. But that's not the lie that I really focused on with him. That's true. You need to understand that if you are adding value in your newsletter, putting it out there to people is of value, and you won't burn out your list. There's nuances to that, obviously. But what I could really tell was that he didn't have an alternative way of selling. And I very, very quickly addressed that was a lie that was keeping him trapped. There was confusion there. I need to sell through my list, and that's the only way to sell, but I don't want to burn out my list, so I'm not going to do this in a fast enough fashion, or in the fashion that most people will tell me is necessary in terms of marketing to launch a program, and I refuse to do that. Therefore, we have a situation where he can't move forward. That's not going to work. So I very quickly addressed this and showed him that there was a style of filling this program that works extraordinarily well with his relationship-based business. And it's basically relationship-based selling. And you get on the phone with people and you have conversations with them. And I'm teaching him the process of doing that. And he's going to be able to rapidly fill this program. And it seems somewhat obvious, right? Like, well, this is an obvious solution. But when you're in the confusion, you're in a lie, because that lie is trying to keep you in your old pattern, at your old set point, at your old level of execution. It's trying to help you not change. Seems kind of back-ass words for most of us, because we know that in order to grow, we need to change, but our subconscious doesn't know that change is survivable. So it will do anything to throw us into confusion and keep us in our limited thinking, okay? So this is one of the ways the subconscious mind confuses you, and you don't have to do it that way, okay? So you have to stay open to the solutions, and you have to focus on what you want. Okay. So I was like, okay, so what does he want? He wants to sell. I did this in a split second, but you can map this out for yourself. He wants to fill his program by such and such time with this many people in it, but he doesn't want to do it by quote unquote burning out his list. Now, instead of arguing with him about whether it would in fact burn out his list, I want him to have a few killer wins under his belt. So let's do this relationship-based selling. That solution was always here. He just wasn't seeing it because he was in confusion. Hope that makes sense. Okay, the last one is to go into figure it out mode. This seems pretty straightforward, okay? It's for most people, and yet you probably have also had the experience of being in confusion and not feeling like you had it all figured out, okay? And sometimes people go into helplessness. If that's you, you just want to make a note of that. And recognize that that's because you're stuck in the lie, not because you're wrong or bad, okay? Not because you should be in judgment of yourself. It's just that you're stuck in a lie, okay? And you may need to work with someone who has the experience doing what you want to do and ask them for their help. That's part of, why it's faster to work with a mentor than to do it alone, okay? That said, you can't give up personal responsibility here. The law of personal responsibility is, at play always. So even if you're working with a mentor, you need to start going into figure it out mode, okay? If this is challenging for you, if you don't know how to do this, certainly asking better questions is one of the key ways that you can help yourself figure something out. So instead of staying in the, why isn't this working? Or this is so bad, isn't this so bad kind of line of questioning, you can say, how can I blink? How can I solve this? How can I get to what I want? Okay, you have to know what you want. How can I get to what I want? Okay, and if the want is, how can I hire both team members when I'm currently can only afford one? Okay, the lie is that you can only currently afford one because the money is here, it's here now. So what would you need to do to create that money? How can I create money for 2 team members? Okay, that's asking a better question. And then it's giving a directive to your subconscious, and then your subconscious starts hunting for the answer. Okay, now this requires that you trust yourself. Most people don't trust themselves, and that's something for another episode. But most people don't. All the power is outside of themselves. I'm only going to do what the parental units tell me, the authority figures tell me. I'm just going to execute on what someone else has told me to do. That doesn't work, especially if you're an entrepreneur. You have to start trusting yourself to make better decisions. Now, like I said earlier, working with a mentor can help that process along, but you need to ultimately get to the place where you trust yourself. Okay? And ultimately, the truth is that you can trust yourself because you're synced up. You are one with the universe. You are one with all the energy that is. You are divine. You are God. You are spirit. You're not separate from. There's no separation, no duality. Everything is whole, including you. So now we're circling back to the law of polarity. Human spirit. When you put those two things together, we're whole. We're whole. Okay? And so if you're saying you can't trust yourself, you are denying your oneness with the universe, your oneness with God, your wholeness. All the answers are here and they're here now, and they are in you. They are not outside of you because you are one with the universe. Okay. Now, all the answers that are in you might have a direct path, right? Like the intuition drops in, the idea drops in. It's just come from spirit, source, the universe, boom, it's dropped in. But sometimes the answer in you is, I'm going to go do research on the internet. The answer in you is, I need to reach out to my mentor and get her advice. The answer in you is, I'm going to go meditate. The answer in you is, I'm going to do some journaling about this and figuring out, what my truth is here. Okay? So there's a lot of different ways that this looks like, okay? And it's important that you don't just approach it intellectually, but approach it on the ground in application. That's the critical piece of everything that I teach. Even though sometimes this material can sound a little esoteric or a little out there, the big shifts that have happened for me and my clients are when they start applying this on the daily, in the mundane things of life, to everything that happens in their life and business. Not just this sort of grandiose intellectual understanding of it, but when the rubber meets the road, when you're really in confusion, when you're really in some sort of struggle or pain, that you apply these concepts. So with that, remember that where there's confusion, there's a lie. That your natural state is heaven. When you're thrown out of heaven, it means you're in some sort of lie. And then use the 5 steps that we came up with to help you see what that is and to move through it. 1 is intellectual understanding, using the laws. We touched on some of them. 2 is managing your mind and using the power of choice. 3 was staying open to the answers, not thinking that the answers weren't there, but staying open to the answers and giving yourself the right amount of time. Not going into panic that it has to all happen right now, but neither saying that it has to take forever. It can be so much faster than you think it can be, but you do have to stay in action. Okay? Focus on what you do want. Okay? That's critical. It will move you in the right direction. And then step into figure it out mode and start taking action. The universe will meet you and will give you your next step. And you will be out of confusion and into the solution faster than you ever thought possible. Okay, with that, I'm Amira Alvarez. Rock it out, be unstoppable, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for joining us and for being a part of the Unstoppable Woman movement. I want to let you know that we've got a ton of free resources for you for scaling your business at theunstoppablewoman.com/free stuff. Please go ahead and check those out. And we'd also love your help in getting the message out. Share this podcast with all the unstoppable women in your life, your friends, your colleagues, your business besties. Please do that. And if you're game, we'd super duper duper appreciate a review on iTunes as well. Thanks so much and be unstoppable.